and then set up what the poster gave us here, which was at the end of, spoiler alert, what was going to come. So John Cena.
I am going to interrupt you, Jake, but up until this point, the show's over officially for me at this point, because what comes up next is awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think about all the matches up until now?
I mean, I thought it was a great show. The matches were fantastic. I would have given the show either a solid B+ or a good A- up until then. Probably a good B+ up until then. The chamber matches were great. They set themselves up well for Mania. It was one of those things where people were talking about that this road to WrestleMania wasn't as good as last year. They weren't feeling it, and it was. What do I always say? Have a little bit of, and I get that, but my entire point, the entire reasons I wanted to start this channel was to talk of just having a little bit of patience. Like, let's see what happens. Let's not just complain to complain. And the reason why was, let's get through Elimination Chamber. Now, if that show hadn't really set anything up, if the finishes were flat, if it ended with moments of we're like, that's the match. But everything that we've got coming out of this is, okay, all right, now we're on the road to WrestleMania. Plus, WrestleMania is 3 weeks later this year than it was last year, so we've got time.
Yeah.
Never mind that they're going to want those shows in Europe in March to be fantastic. Like they want those crowds to be hot, like Lyon, France. So they're gonna put on. Roman's already announced for at least 2 of them, and Cena for 3 of them, I believe, is what I've seen.
Sounds good.
So then the
matches were great. I enjoyed them.
Yeah,
I was at a B at this point in time.
Which, I mean, that's that. I can go with that. Yeah, B+ I went with, and that's for me. It was kind of just because and it was mostly for those moments in the Elimination Chamber where you had Cena and Punk kind of being able to face off and have those moments and callbacks, or the bickering between Punk and Logan Paul. Like, that's not obviously going to be the Mania match, I don't think, this year, but I feel like that'd be a cool match for SummerSlam or maybe Money in the Bank. Punk and Logan Paul are going to have a match at some point, and it's going to be awesome. I firmly believe that.
We came down to Cody's soul.
Right. Yeah. And so that was a good way of doing it. John Cena celebrating his win in the ring, pointing at the Mania sign, and then Cody comes out, which you expect. He's got to have his, not only to face off with who he's going to wrestle at WrestleMania in the main event of night 2, but we all knew back from here that the bottom corner there of this is going to be Cody's big match, or Cody's big moment, that he's going to sell his soul to The Rock. They alluded to a few different things on SmackDown on Friday night, with R-Truth in the back, and was it Miz telling him that he's got to do it? I feel like if you're getting advice from the Miz, you're in trouble at that point. But Cody comes out, him and John Cena have their moment together. They shake hands, they have a little hug, and then we get The Rock's music. Well, I guess initially Travis Scott's music came out, and then it turns into The Rock's music because he's got his 3rd remix of the year already.
Did you have any wondering going on in your mind as to why Cena was still there?
No, not in that moment, because
knowing what we know now, obviously it was for a purpose, but I was I couldn't figure out why he was still there.
I mean, if it was just about anybody else, I would think because he's John Cena. You're going to have, it's good to have him, the star power of it there. Never mind the fact that that's ramp. It's not like they can just kind of disappear off that rampway. It's a long walk back to Gorilla from there. And I also kind of expected at least Rock and Cena to have a moment. I didn't expect what we got. But I didn't have an issue with it. I didn't also have an issue with Travis Scott either. I don't know a lot about him and what he does, but I know he's got 60 million Twitter followers. So there's people that know who he is and what he does and really care. I know he's a rapper and a musician and he's very popular, but I'm in my 40s, you're in your 50s. We're not the target demographic. No. I'm also not going to complain about it, though. I totally understand. I'm not sure if he needed to get involved physically, but
no, not at all.
But that's neither here nor there. I mean, Cody can take a slap. He's fine. But the shot of the night to me, and I think to you as well, was this one right here. That was the moment when he goes in for the hug before The Rock makes makes the throat slash and the gesture at the hand and everything. we got that face from John Cena.
That's
I mean, that's got to be a poster or a T-shirt or something. I don't know. That's just such. I mean, I hate to use the word that everybody uses, but I feel like there's right times to use certain phrases, and this is cinema. Like, this was actual cinema in that moment, and you could feel it from the crowd. Like, even like the people that could see his face, wherever you just and it was mostly from that side that you could see it, because he had the moment where it was almost like Roy Scheider in Jaws or Jeff Daniels in Speed, where like it's bad and like the face drops. Like, he held that well, and just and then he kicked Cody in the groin.
You jumped over something that we all.
My bad. Sorry, I'm a little excited
about
over
this. Cody telling The Rock to go F himself.
Oh shit, you're right. My bad. You're right. That's because I was going to try to put the video up of it, but I didn't want to get in trouble because it was WWE's content, and I don't want to have to edit it out. But yeah, that was the point when Rock came out and asked Cody, in this roundabout, weird Rock way of wanting it all and taking it all and wanting Cody's soul and
touching his face.
Yeah, and it is. But I feel like it's supposed to be, like I was saying when we were talking about last time. Like he's a complete psychopath. Like, he's just an insane person. Like, he's what is it? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Like, that's where he is right now. But that's great. And even when we were on the show with Phil, he was thinking, "Hey, Cody's dressed in black. Maybe this is the moment Cody turns." I've been saying for a while, yes, Cody will turn, but not yet. You don't turn when you're at the height of your popularity.
Not anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say normally, but we'll, and that's where Cody says, my soul doesn't belong to me anymore. I've given it to these people and this ring, and hey, Rock, go fuck yourself. And they didn't bleep it, or they didn't edit it on Peacock. I rewatched it today, assuming it would be edited out. They kept it in there.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
Absolutely. I just thought they might have edited it out because they edited it out last year when this is bullshit when he came out from there. But that's this new era. That's Triple H. You get that more realistic moment, and you felt that with the crowd. I'm so glad you reminded me of that. I'd forgotten about that. There was too much. This show has so much. Randy Orton came back, and it was almost an afterthought. Jade Cargill came back, and neither of those are the main story of the show. Like, that's right. Like, that's really, for me, the key to a great show. When you can have that much going on, and really, I mean, there was only the 4 matches, but so much happened in them in this segment, and then, Rock just kind of gives Cody what the disapproving face, and Cody turns to Cena, looks at the Mania sign, goes in for the handshake, bro hug, and we get this. I'm glad I was able to keep this picture up there for as long as we have, because it's still just, this is going to be one of those moments where, 3, 5, 10 years from now, and you see highlights, you're going to get chills and remember where you were. Like, it was one of those moments.
Yeah, Cena really beat him down too. I mean,
yes,
he was laying those shots in, dude. He was...
Yeah, and I mean, that's how Cody. I mean, that's how professionals want it.
The normal Cena punch that you see was not being shown there. They were hitting. Yeah,
no, you could hear them. You could hear them clearly. And when he was using the, Michael Cole first thought it was brass knuckles, which I admit I did too, until they zoomed in closer and you realized it was the Rolex.
He got kicked in the ding-a-ling so hard that the Rolex fell off.
I mean, usually it's you get kicked out of your shoes, getting kicked out of your Rolex. That's something. I mean, no, hey, if you're gonna turn heel, man, this is how you do it. And and he beats him down, hits him with the belt. And I mean, Cena, you could just see it initially. His entire demeanor changed. He became a different person. Like, people were talking, making the word life jokes, and he was going back to that. But I feel like this is one of those things, kind of like Rock's evolution from the People's Champion to, then he was corporate champion, back to People's Champion, and then the evolution into Hollywood Rock, and then this final boss, complete psychopath Rock. And I mean, it was just awesome. I really thought it was. And there's going to be the other part of it too, which we'll talk about, and I guess we can, you know, I didn't watch all of the press conference either. Like we watched part of it, but that's the best picture that I saw from it. Where the best part of it that I saw from it was Cena coming out, setting up like he was going to talk, picking up the microphone and dropping it. I mean, that picture says it all of the entire event. You know, it was just one of those things where it was done perfectly. And that's kind of where I wanted to bring it up to ending on, is the discussion that people are having is this turn bigger than Hulk Hogan in 1996 at Bash at the Beach? And I think it's a great debate, because this is one of those things that's 1000% a subjective opinion. No one's really right or wrong in this. It's what you think about it. And that's what's fun, until people start throwing massive insults at you when you don't know shit about wrestling history. Like I watched that too. I was watching that live, and I was watching this live. I'm curious to your take on it, and then I'll give you mine.
Having gone through both,
right?
Given the time periods, during that time period when Hogan turned, that's what needed to happen at that time.
Yep.
For that to happen, to continue to shoot WCW up the ladder. This was something 20 years in the making that we weren't expecting, and nobody expected, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and
we got that. So the time periods are different, and they're both equal, I think.
That's a good way of putting it. So the reason I brought it up was because, and shout out to Raj Giri, one of our favorite people. He does Gigantic Pop with Matt Morgan on YouTube. Go check him out. It's a great show if you haven't watched him. But I follow his tweets, and I was on Twitter for a while last night, just watching the different edits that people are making, different people's reactions to it, different camera angles, because it was fun. You know, it was one of those things where you knew the world was going to be talking about it. And Raj just happened to ask the same question of what he thought was bigger. And apparently I was like the first commenter, because literally my notifications are still blowing up about this one, either people liking it or responding back and telling me they hate my opinion. But I thought subjectively, I felt at least like this moment itself was bigger because of the unexpectedness of it. Like if you watch, like I don't watch many different shows or many podcasts, but I saw a few different things. I don't think I saw anybody really predicting it would go down like this. You know, I saw some people saying, "Oh, Corporate Cena would be great," but nobody saw that. I think everybody thought it would have been like Rock helps him win the Elimination Chamber or something like that. The way this was done, especially with how John Cena reacted when Cody did say, "Go fuck yourself." He popped, he goes huge, he's clapping, he's all big. And again, back to that. the American Psycho, you know, Mike Myers death face. I love it. I think it's great. For Hogan, my other thing too was the other big reason for me that I think this was at least bigger in the moment was Hogan was starting to kind of wane on people. Like, yes, there were tons of people that were still into him, but a lot of people were, every time we came out, was just like, whatever. You know, he did that whole thing with the Dungeon of Doom where he wore black and shaved his mustache and almost went heel as a teaser, but was never really heel. And so it just didn't hit. It didn't work for me, at least as well as when, you know, so when he turned, it wasn't that unexpected. I mean, obviously famously Bobby Heenan asked if he's the third man, but I can remember watching that as a 14-year-old. And the moment he came out, I was like, oh, he's the third man. Like I could feel it. Granted, I was never a big Hogan kid. I always thought he was kind of full of crap, which I guess my instincts were correct on that one. As we've seen as he's gotten older and told more lies. But this one, I mean, John Cena granted a kid's Make-A-Wish in the attire that he did this in, backstage.
Yeah, they're still going to do all that stuff. I mean,
oh yeah, no, for sure. It's just but
to correct you a little bit, at that point in Hogan's career, people were done with Hogan, dude.
I was okay. Thank you. I was being generous. This is why I love you, George. Now, hang on. I gotta praise you on that one. Thank you, because honestly, I was trying to. That was what I said in my tweet. Was like, you know, people. I still try to be diplomatic with it because I wasn't trying to piss people off. I was just giving my opinion and moving on. But I got like berated by people. Like, everybody still loved Hogan. He was still the most over baby. So I'm like, maybe to you because you were a kid at the time. I am like, people like, you got recency bias. I was like, it's really more I really just not looking back with full rose-colored glasses, which I'll give another shout out to Wrestling Bios and the Reliving the War show on the Wrestling Bios YouTube channel. You know, that show has really kind of shown that not all of that NWO stuff worked all the time. Like there was some of it that was great, like Kevin Nash lawn darting Rey Mysterio onto the truck. Like that was awesome. But then there's some of it where you're like, what happened? Against who?
At that time, we were all, I mean, I watched it with everybody. We were sick of Hogan.
Yeah.
We wanted him gone. His popularity was crap. Nobody cared. And then when he came out, we're like, oh, he's going to save. It was unexpected because we thought he was done.
Right.
There was no place for him anymore. The generations moved on. He had to do that to be relevant, and he knew that.
And to hang on to his relevancy for another few years. Like, that was,
perfect.
And being able to keep and keeping other people down, as we're with Cena, it's so unexpected because of how much they put into this. This is going to be his last run. This is what he's going to do. This is come see, and they've been making T-shirts everywhere of it too. You know, where you've got local T-shirts in the local sports team's colors, which I always thought was a great throwback to, you know, original ruthless aggression Cena. But I mean, obviously they'll still make the merch and it'll still sell clearly, but again, that was just so unexpected. I was literally shocked
to get your hands on the first Cena heel merchandise. Ooh.
Right? Since what, 2003, I think it is. The stat that I saw that killed me was the last time John Cena was a heel, Finding Nemo had just been released on DVD.
Classic.
That's like when I saw that, I kind of turned into Matt Damon at the end of Saving Private Ryan, where you just age 50 years in about 2 seconds. That's what happened to me when I read that tweet. But it was like something like 7,700 days. Technically, John Cena's been a babyface. We all wanted this heel turn in what, 2014, 13? Maybe even sooner. I mean, I always liked Cena. I'll tell my John Cena story here since we're just talking about him. But I think it was, I want to say 2007 or 2008. There was a Raw here in Phoenix. And for some reason, I had a good amount of money from something. I either wanted something at a casino or had a good tax return. I don't really remember. But I do remember that it was my buddy's birthday. And I was like, fuck it, dude. Let's go down there. Let's go down to the arena. We'll scout the best tickets we can find. And I was able to get us tickets right up against one of the entrance gates. We were like we weren't this 2 seats next to it. We were the 2 seats right next to them, right up against on the right side of the entrance. And so we're like, you know, getting handshakes for people as they walk by. I actually remember it was whenever the Highlanders were a thing, because the Highlanders were slapping people's hands really hard as they were coming down. I pulled mine back and my buddy didn't. And I'm pretty sure his hand still hurts to this day from whichever of the Highlanders slapped his hand. But after the show and the dark match main event, everybody's they're walking back, and Cena's kind of walking back all beat up or whatever. And he sees that I've got, and sorry to say it, George, but he sees I got a Red Sox shirt on, and he just points at me, walks up, kind of gives me like the slap hand and the knuckles, and walks back. And I was the only person's hand he shook because I was wearing a Red Sox t-shirt. So I never was on the team no Cena or the team anti Cena, because he shook my hand. So he's always been cool with me, but this was still something that was very cool to see. And I always love a good heel turn if it's done right and for the right reasons. And this seems like it's going to be done really well. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It'll be fun. I agree.
Yeah.
So overall, Jake, the whole rating for the show you gave?
I mean, for how amazing that moment was at the end, I can go with the full A+ for it.
See, I went A- just because of the women's tag team match.
And I get that, but I mean, because of what that was, had that taken up like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And I give a perfect rating when something's not
perfect. I'll give you that. The ending was so good and involved so much and set up so much fun. Mm-hmm. Plus, I mean, and I posted it as the GIF, I feel like the road to WrestleMania just became the Wayne's World Bohemian Rhapsody scene. Just everybody in the car, like, yeah, let's go. Like, yeah, it's ready to go. I mean, we're set up. I mean, already on the Mania card, what do we have for sure? We've got Charlotte and Tiffany, at least Bianca and Rhea, possibly Bianca, Io and Rhea, KO and Orton, corporate Cena with Rock versus Cody with Steve Austin, maybe that could happen. he could call in
look at
Steve.
you going right out there.
This is why we do the show live and we don't really have notes or plan things, because the best thoughts sometimes just come live. I mean, that of all the predictions I'll ever make was on the PWT before the Royal Rumble. Phil said, who's been that workhorse? Who's that workhorse, dark horse that would deserve to win the Royal Rumble? Jey Uso. I didn't really think that was going to happen, but when presented that way, I was able to come up with it. Drew versus Priest. That'll be good. Hopefully it does really tear the house down. They do deliver some good promos, because I would like to see Priest really succeed. I mean, he does seem to be a good hard worker and he's got a good story. Liv and Raquel. I mean, that'll probably be like a triple threat or a quadruple team tag women's match to kind of make sure everybody else gets on the card. Gunther and Jay. Yep. There's another one. Probably Jade and Naomi. You would think.
We're gonna have to see where that story goes.
Yeah, I would think. I'm not sure. That's why there was a question mark at that one. I feel like if Bailey's probably got to have a match, and that's a perfect time for Roxanne to solidify herself on the main roster card, which is insane because she's going to be 23 wrestling at WrestleMania. She's a talented woman for her age. Like I'm impressed. And then I would think it's going to be that Seth Punk Roman match. I would think, but then what does that leave Logan Paul with?
I don't know.
That kind of, because I would kind of think that, you could do Seth and Punk again, and then somehow it becomes, but Rogan, I was say Rogan and Loman. No, Logan and Roman have already had a match. So I really don't know. That one's kind of up in the air, I feel like.
Yeah, we'll see what they do. There's gonna be a lot of stuff happening here, so we'll.
Oh yeah, well we've still got till WrestleMania is the 19th and 20th of April. There's not a Saturday night's main event, but from now till then, but they got. I think it's after next week they go to Europe. They go to Europe for 3 or 4 weeks. They got shows in like Italy, and that's what I'm excited for is the live Raws from. I know one's in London. That's the one that gets March 28th. I think it is what I saw. I got a calendar right in front of me. Yeah, or no, that's the SmackDown is the March 28th. The March 20th is the one in London, but March 24th is the Raw, I think, in like Italy. So yeah. No, it was a great show. I definitely enjoyed it. There's been a lot of chatter and discourse afterwards. I feel like Raw being on I know it was having ratings kind of downward sloping from the last couple of weeks on Netflix. I have a sneaking suspicion tomorrow's will kind of sucker right back up. Could be wrong, but just kind of think so.
It's going to be a lot of people wanting to see what's going on tomorrow.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, let us know what you think below in the comments. We actually do have some comments that we want to read, but we've been going for 45 minutes today. So I feel like that's a good enough show to kind of talk about this amazing PLE and setting us up on the awesome road to WrestleMania. Yeah, leave a comment, hit the like button, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, X, all that good stuff. George, anything else you'd like to say before we head out for the day?
No, awesome. Nicely done.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later.